Today we are very honoured and delighted to have with us Ian Callum. Ian Callum, to most people here, I suspect, will not need too much of an introduction, but for those that don't know, is the designer of the Vanquish, and the Vanquish that we're celebrating the 25th anniversary of this weekend. Ian also did other Aston Martins and plenty of cars beforehand, and started his career, I think, as a graduate of the, what was it now?
The Royal College.
The Royal College,
Yeah.
yes, automotive design. And spent many years with the Ford Motor Company before going and working with Tom Walkinshaw, who many people will know, a very celebrated racing team, Le Mans entrant, etc. I think probably as a result of Ian's association with Tom, there became a relationship with Aston Martin, probably under Walter Hayes in those days.
It was,
wasn't
yeah,
it?
it was Walter, yeah.
So we have just a couple of questions, Ian, I don't mind, if you don't mind too. One of them actually was Project Vantage, first shown Dearborn, wasn't it, I think? Or
Dearborn,
Yeah.
yes, in the Cobo Arena,
Yeah.
presented by what was it? Jack Nasser, and what was the guy? Bob Dover.
Yeah.
And I kept in the background because I'd never been to the forefront of a motor show before, and I was absolutely terrified. I'd get called up. And I think Nasser gave me a name check, which was frightening enough as it was. But, you know, we're talking about the breakfast at the Cobo Arena, and there'll be about maybe 1,000 journalists there,
Yeah.
so it was all quite intimidating. But yeah, he launched it, and he basically said, you know, we should be building it, and that's how it came about.
Well, that was going to be my next question, because I mean, I saw it, I think, that year as well. Was it at Geneva or London? It was on the show stand, I think.
It was, well, you can't know that. It went to Geneva, yes,
Yeah.
it did, yeah.
And I remember seeing it there, and it was at the time when Aston was still building the V550 supercharged cars and the DB7, and there was this project car on the stand, and I remember going around it, looking at it, thinking, goodness me, this is a game changer.
Well, thank you.
But what I'd be interested to hear, and maybe our guests too, is at what point did you know that the car was going to get a green light to go into production?
Well, we didn't really know until after the Detroit show, and Jack had spoken to Bob, and Bob came up and said, yeah, it's a good chance we're going to build this. Now, when we started Project Vantage, which is the concept car, which incidentally, every surface was completely different, and there were reasons for the changes, obviously, but Bob said to me, make sure you design something we can build. So it was always in his mind that we were going to build the car. You know, this was going to be the new V car, the new muscle car, and that was the direction he gave me.
Yeah. But presumably, you know, these things don't happen without a lot of money behind them. Was that definite, or maybe?
Well, what had happened was, I mean, it was fortunate for us when we were doing DB7, and Ford Motor Company had owned a good share of Aston, and I think there were certain parties that were kind of shareholders in it, but Ford were the main shareholders, and Walter Hayes was clever enough to get the car, the DB7 this is, to the Geneva show in '93, and take all the orders, and then he told Ford he'd got about 50 or 60 orders for this car, but he hadn't had approval to build it. A lot of people don't know that. Walter was quite cunning. He really managed, but of course he had enough friends in Detroit to kind of get away with it, and he did, and the DB7 was born. Now, the reason the Vanquish happened was because Aston Martin actually has some money to spend.
Yeah.
And there was the DB7 was successful financially.
And we're here to celebrate the 25th anniversary of
Yeah.
2001. What year are we referring to when you're talking about the motor show? That was 1998? Project Vantage was shown?
Oh my goodness. Is it 98?
Yeah.
98,
I think
yeah.
so.
So 3 years
Long,
before
long.
any of
Yeah.
these cars were produced.
Oh yes, there was a
Yeah.
good 3 years of development to be done.
And so,
Long time ago. I know.
well, it's, like I say, good of you to be here. So the design for Vanquish Was that done in your own studio, or how did it, there was a lot of time
Yeah.
and effort went into that?
Yeah, Aston Martin didn't have a design studio. They didn't even have an engineering business to speak of until Ian Menards and the team put one together. So we designed it in our studio as a Vantage. Now, the great thing about this car, which is quite significant, is we had one design review in the car, and that is with Bob Dover and Jack Nasser. Jack flew in his helicopter or something, as he does. We were in Leafield in Oxfordshire with the design studio in TWR.
Right,
It's a TWR design studio, and Bob had commissioned me to do this car. So we put the clay model together, and it was just raw clay. I've still got pictures to this day of the car. And Bob and Jack came in. Now the fortunate thing for me was Jack understood Aston Martin. He had a DBS at the time, and unlike our friends at Detroit, didn't really know what an Aston was. So he was a great supporter of it. And he came in. We had one design review, changed the tail lamps, and off he went. And that was it. There were no more design reviews on that car. I was left to my own. There's a lesson.
Changed the tail lights from what? To
Well, we'd modelled something in. He said it looked a little bit American, and I can't remember what they looked like now. So we changed the tail lamps, but then when we got to the production car, we couldn't afford tail lamps. And so we messed about, a bit like DB7, we messed about with various components from Ford Motor Company. And we eventually got new tail lamps that Wolfgang Reitzler agreed to pay for. About 250,000 or something.
This was going to be the next question, actually, because
Okay. Stop jumping the gun.
the car got itself to a point where it's green lighted and it's going to go into production.
Yeah.
And there must have been elements to your design that became problematic when it came to manufacturing, not just from the point of view of making everything fit and work, but monetarily. So what were the biggest things that you had to change?
Well, when we went from the concept car to the production model, we had to pull the body side out 20 millimetres, which really hurt me. And if you look at the original one, it's got a lot more waste to the planned view of it, which is quite dramatic in Project Vantage. So we had to pull it out. And the reason we had to pull the whole body side out was because it had to take the Ford key barrel. So that was the tail wagging the dog, wasn't it? So the key barrel dictated the section on the body. There weren't many things that we changed. I got away with an awful lot. The one thing that changed probably more than most was the interior, which I wasn't entirely responsible for. I was kind of policing it from afar. But the interior was put together at Lotus in Norfolk. And it was basically trying to capture the Project Vantage. But the way we put the interior together was a lot of gaps in it and a lot of overlapped surfaces, which were easier to build. And it wasn't entirely in my agreement, but it works reasonably well. And the other big thing was, of course, the window surrounds came from Jaguar, and they were actually the same as the XK8, and that annoyed me a lot because I wasn't a Jag by then, so and the door mirrors, of course, were from the XK8 as well. So both these elements were something I would rather have done a little bit more independently.
We're going to come on to that, aren't we?
But this, I think, is probably worth mentioning that at this time, Ford Motor Company not only had a controlling interest of Aston, but they owned Jaguar as well.
They own both brands, yes.
Made a lot of sense. But I was just really curious to know if there was anything fundamental about the design of the car that you had to change, either for engineering or for monetary purposes.
Not really. I was left alone. The one big difference was the front lamps. We didn't have any lamps on the project car that were effectively side lamps or indicators. So we took the DB7 lamp unit off the V12 and put that in the front because it accommodated these functions.
Makes sense.
And that's really the biggest change to the car. The rest of it, apart from that, all the overall surfacing was changed. But there was nothing fundamental that we had to move away from. Because we were left alone, entirely. It's good that. It's never happened
since.
How
often does that happen?
Never. It's never happened since. And it never happened before.
Did you feel that Aston Martin were getting more ambitious after the DB7?
Oh yeah, the confidence was there.
Right.
It was still very much a cottage industry. Now those of you will remember it. It was based in Newport Pagnell, and Sunnyside was head office, and I used to go there a lot and spent a lot of time with Harry Metcalf, of course. Not Harry Metcalf. Harry's name.
Harry Carlton.
Carlton, sorry. No, Harry Carlton. And
Ian Minard's as
and
well,
Ian
I think.
Minard's, of course, when we were developing this car, we became very good friends.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was ambitious. And Bob Dover wanted to make something of the car, and we came up with a production plan of cars to come as well, some of which didn't happen.
And with the ambition growing, did budgets grow, or was it still?
Yeah, there were
cottage
more.
industry,
Yeah, because when we're doing the 7, there's boring parts everywhere. And as did this car in many ways, but not to the same extent. The budget was better, much better.
So, Vanquish, do you think of that as your masterpiece? I mean, we're here amongst a lot of Vanquish owners, so you're no doubt going to say the right thing. But I know internally here, we all still love the Vanquish, and we pinch ourselves that it's 25 years old, and we do think, God, if it had modern LED lighting and a few bits of tinsel around the place, it would still look very fresh.
It can be sorted.
Yes, I've got all that. But you have had the responsibility of several designs of different cars over the years. You were involved very much with DB7 and Vanquish and the V8 Vantage and
DB9.
DB9.
Yeah.
So out of all of them, how do you consider the Vanquish? Is that your greatest achievement?
Well, it's a bit like asking who your favourite child is, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's very
We want
much
to know.
it's very much up there, and I think it's a car that, as you know, I went back to kind of redevelop after I left Jaguar as a personal mission, because it's a car that I still have a great fondness for, probably more than most actually. It's a very personal car, because back to the original story of being left alone to design what I wanted to design without question. And people put trust in me, and to that end, it's still one of my favourites, and I've got one at home, and I look at it quite.
Interesting. So have you ever, as a matter of a career for so long in designing motor cars, have you ever added up how many cars you've designed? Do you know the number?
Somebody asked me last week, because I'm doing something in America next month, and they wanted to know if you include concept cars, about 26, I think.
Okay.
Concept,
Yeah.
including the Rover 75 Estate. Not many people know that. That's the one that my friend Julian Thompson reminds me of every time my portfolio comes out. Don't forget the Rover 75 Estate. So, hey, there you go.
Great.
Sorry, just what's Nick's going to nose. Do you have a Vanquish or a Vanquish S?
I've got a Vanquish S, yeah. Yeah, I have, because it is a bit better.
Well, that's inevitable, isn't it?
Well, you'd hope so, wouldn't you?
Yeah, the longer a car's in production,
it's a bit better.
Generally, the better they get.
Yeah.
After spending a bit of time here, looking around cars and meeting people on site, and I hope you've had an opportunity to also wander around the car park, because there's an awful lot of interesting cars there. I just wondered if there was anything here that was your favourite.
There was a black one over there. I really like the black ones. There's something about them. The car's got a natural kind of meanness and muscle to it, and I think the black one's just a little bit meaner and more muscly than others. But then the silver one looks good because it shows up the form. So, and if I could repaint mine, it'd probably be blue. So there you go. There's a political answer.
It's a good answer. I like blue too.
So.
Now, Callum Designs, which is your current business.
Madness.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't know about that. It's been interesting seeing the products. Lot of publicity and PR on the Vanquish 25.
Yeah.
And I know some have been built and delivered. And I was just wondering whether there's another iteration to come.
There are potentially two. We've done a wide-bodied version, or we've at least designed one up to CAD level, which is just a bit meaner and tougher. And it's not everybody's taste. It's a bit of a hot rod, so we put even wider wheels on it, and we've widened the body a little bit. And if somebody wants something which shouts rather than whispers, this one does it. We're also building an estate car version, which is proving to be challenging, but that's something that we may see in the near future. So it's just.
How about a convertible?
Well, you know, it's a funny thing. When we took the car apart for the estate, I realised how little structure there was in the roof. And all the structure is in the A-pillar and the platform below. It's surprising how mobile the B-post can be if you really start pulling on it and it's bare shell. So I suddenly thought at that point a convertible might be a good idea, although designing a hood is just a nightmare.
And
But there is one. Zagato did one.
Yes, just the one. Were there not conversations back in 2001 about convertibles? Was there demand?
I'm sure there was a conversation. It went through the transition from Bob Dover to Uli Betts, and I think Bob would like to have done a convertible version because it's very much his car, and he would like to have done a convertible, but I think that conversation got
You
lost.
didn't draw one then?
We never drew one, no. And by the way, the original car was a two-seater. That was something Bob insisted on. And it was only later that two seats ended up in the back.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're not very usable,
No,
are they?
they're not. They were never meant to be there. You know.
So, all right, well, listen, that's terrific, Ian. Can I just take the opportunity to thank you very much
Thank you.
for agreeing to come up today.
Did we want to take a couple of questions, if there's any?
Well, yeah, maybe. Has
Anything-
anyone got any particular questions?
Anybody would like to ask Ian whilst we're still got him?
Go on,
Ian's
give me
driven
a
all the
thought.
way from Dorset today. by the
Hands
way,
up,
so we
come
better
on.
let him get home at some stage.
Christian.
If there was one thing you could change that didn't make it from design to concept, what would it be?
Well, we've approached it in our own car. It's called VC25, and we were doing a limited number of them. We built a few, as you say. So I've addressed all the things that I wanted to change. One was the surround around the windows, the glass. We've put a carbon moulding in there, which is much more sympathetic, and we've changed the complete interior. I mean, it's fundamentally the same shapes, but we've redone all the panels. So the interior, to me, is probably its Achilles in terms of its fit and finish. It's something that I wanted to address, so we've done that. And we've even reformed the seats, so we've done every part of the interior. So that's the major part, and of course I put bigger wheels on, as I do. Everything's got to be wider track, bigger wheels, so we put 20-inch wheels in it.
Silver, I hope.
Well, it's up to the client, it's up to the customer. But most of them are silver, yes. We haven't done a black one yet. No black wheels.
So, any other questions? Come on, there must be some somewhere.
Oh my goodness.
I'm not sure we've got time for all of that.
A few Fords. Quite a number of Jags.
The first and last then, the first and
The
last.
first one was the RS200 rally car,
Oh, yeah.
and I did a few after that, including the Puma and the Cosworth Escort. And the last ones were the I-Pace and the XE and the F-Type.
Yeah, yeah. Of course, we've completely forgotten to mention your time as design director at Jaguar Land Rover, which
Yeah,
is
well,
another
not
big
here.
feather in your cap, isn't it, at the end of the day?
Well, if it wasn't for Aston, that job would never have happened for me.
Although, do you know, I've looked recently, the F-Pace is the electric one, isn't it?
I-Pace is the
I-Pace,
electric
yeah.
one, yeah.
I've been looking at that and rather pervertedly, because people like to think about changing petrol cars to be electric. I've looked at that and thinking, God, that would make a really good petrol car. Have you thought of doing that?
It has been mentioned, yeah. I was going to see if I could get a V8 in the front, and you could probably just about manage it.
Yeah. Well, look, if there's any more questions, let's have them now. Otherwise, I'm just going to thank Ian very much for his time, for coming over today. I hope you've enjoyed listening to a little bit and getting a flavour of Ian and his background and what he does today. Ian, thank you very much.
Thank you, it's been a pleasure, thank you.